You have spent days stuffing your face to the point of being uncomfortable. Your pants don't fit anymore. Then you went out, hopefully cyber and digitally, and spent too much money on Black Friday. Now you finally get yourself to here. It's Countdown to College Game Day, presented by Samsung QLED TV. We're going to get you set for Game Day, which is live, coming at you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, in just 30 minutes. Christine Williamson, I'm Jason Fitz, and when you say food in Thanksgiving, that means you bring in the guest star, Mike Golic Jr. joining us. Thanks for finally crashing the party, my friend.
Well, like you said, you say Thanksgiving, and I come a running, and I've realized I'm sort of like the Hulk of Thanksgiving because he says his secret is he's always angry. My secret is my pants never fit. So why would they start now?
Well, it's 2020. I'm trying to become a Golic by the end of this thing. All right, so we like to start these shows off with getting something off our chest, and so we'll start with a little bit of fun we like to call the top. And now what we will do is put 40 seconds up on the clock. Christine, I'm going to go first. You ready?
Okay.
All right, on your mark, get set,
Go.
Go. You see this sweater, all right? This sweater is glory. This sweater shows you it is officially the holiday season. You are ready for it, and I'm going to spend my time on the top giving you the recipe you need for your Thanksgiving leftovers. You go out, you get yourself a little muffin pan, right? 10, you get yourself a muffin pan. Okay. Inside that, you put some phyllo dough, right? Or crescent roll if you want. And then inside that, you put little spoons of all of everything that was on your Thanksgiving plate. You line the top of it with the dough or the crescent roll. You pop it in the oven. You bake it till it's warm. You got a bite. That's everything you have. Look at these sweaters. If this tells you anything, Christine, it tells you that I know Christmas, and I got your leftover game handled for you. You're welcome, America. That's how I used my time today.
That was pretty solid. Wow, you even had 2 seconds to spare. That was actually pretty good. And I want to ask you about what's typically on your Thanksgiving plate, but we can talk about that later because now I think it's my time to give my top.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
On your mark, get set, go!
So unfortunately, it's 2020. And usually this time of year, we see the biggest rivalry games happening this weekend, but it's not necessarily happening. So games like Bedlam, Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson, South Carolina, Florida State have all either already happened, or they're happening later, or they're not going to happen. Very sad. Others have been canceled due to COVID. There are still some happening this weekend, like the Iron Bowl and the Egg Bowl. So the reason that we actually have Mike Golic Jr. in the building is because we're going to talk about some rivalry matchups. And I have 5 seconds to spare.
Look at that. Wow. We've got time over.
I feel like we've gotten even better at this. I mean, the first one that I ever did, I had like 10 seconds on the back end. So I feel like we just shaved off a couple of seconds.
You were just giving me time to remind everybody that right now you should authenticate in the app. And if you do that, you can stay here all day and watch all the great college football action that's going to come at you on ESPN. Plus, you can watch Game Day right here. Be sure to do it as Countdown to Game Day gets in some Mike Golic Jr. Mike, it's rivalry week, sort of. So let's talk a little bit of Iron Bowl. I mean, it is supposed to be the best of these matchups today, ranked versus ranked. What are you looking at here?
I mean, I'm looking to see if we can get some semblance of a competent Bo Nix because it's about the only way that this game stays competitive in this one, Jason. It's been such a difficult go this year for so often to try and get consistency from the quarterback spot for Gus Malzahn in that offense. Because on the other side, Alabama's an offensive flamethrower. And ever since that Ole Miss game, the defense has slowly started to climb out of what was Nick Saban's proverbial doghouse.
That is a fair point. In that Ole Miss game, though, it did look bad. They gave up, like 9,732 yards in that game. That's, it's a close approximation. I'm with Mike, though. I think there are so many offensive weapons on Alabama. It's a reminder, Christine, of how much they've changed, who they used to be. Alabama, they're just explosive from everywhere. They look hard to stop this year.
Well, I think the question is, we've seen in this matchup a lot of great moments happen. What is the likelihood that we see another Auburn miracle?
I think pretty low. I think the worst thing to happen to Bo Nix was probably the Oregon game from last year, right? Because all of a sudden we heaped a lot of expectations that I just don't think are there yet consistently enough from this quarterback. Yeah, wide open throws in the game to one of the fastest players in college football are something that come up every now and then. Unfortunately, it's just been too few and far between for this Auburn team. So I think they're going to struggle to find some of that magic. But we know rivalry games have this weird way. Like when we played USC my senior year, we were undefeated, they were unranked, and somehow we won by 2. That's just what happens in these spots.
Something happens when you go up against your rival. So one of my most favorite ones is the Egg Bowl because something ridiculous always happens. Last year, Elijah Moore decided to pee in the end zone, and it pissed off the refs. I like that Cologne put that in the rundown because I'm all about a pun. So this year, we got Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin going head-to-head. I feel like this game absolutely cannot disappoint, right, Gojo?
I feel like it cannot disappoint in the sense of interest. Now, what Elijah Moore set in motion with that play last year was a cavalcade of different things in the college football landscape job-wise, and then he came back this year and basically turned into the best receiver in college football at this point. It's going to be very interesting because Lane and this offense have really gotten going in a major way, and we've seen outside of really the LSU game to open the season, Mike Leach and this 4-day install for the air raid offense have run into a bit of cruise control problem, let's say. Some altitude sickness. I'm trying to find the proper word to talk about the plane.
Look, you know what? Mike's not wrong, and I think that's one of the more disappointing things about this rivalry, Christine, is like I don't really care about the game as much as I care about the post-game press conference of these two coaches. Like, I wanted the coaches to give us fire and heat, and so far, Mississippi State has barely given us any football worth watching. So, not that it's been lights out for Ole Miss either, but at least Lane Kiffin has given us the playbook toss.
So you're saying you're not on the bandwagon?
No, I just think that these two teams have been a little bit disappointing. That's all I'm saying.
That makes sense. All right, so the best college football rivalries is a little bit different this season because obviously it's 2020, but also like Michigan, Ohio State is just not exciting anymore. So Fitz, what do you think is one of the best college football rivalries currently? You
know, I think if you're looking at rivalries, I still think that this one's tough for me. We went back and forth on this, on the planning of it. I think Florida, Georgia doesn't get enough love in general. Like those two teams, especially the way they beat each other up. I like that one. But you're right, like the Big Ten hasn't felt as good. Mike, do you got a favorite rivalry?
You know what? It's the shame of it is it is a lot of the ones that have sort of become stagnant as time has gone along or become super lopsided. I think Florida, Georgia is probably a quality one. And honestly, I know we talked about this a fair amount before. I think what Alabama and Clemson has become on the biggest stage just because one of the tenets of rivalries is you have to play often enough and both sides have to win often enough for it to actually be considered something that's not just hammer and nail.
Yeah, I like that. I hadn't thought about that. It's like, it is a rivalry. We've had the chance to be at these championship games a couple of times, and the way these two fan bases hate each other, that wasn't helped this week with the playoff announcements either, as the first rankings came out. So it's only going to get more fired up, Christine.
I mean, since the CFP started, Clemson and Alabama has pretty much run the table as the top two teams in the college football landscape. So, yes, they have turned into a rivalry. They don't play each other during the regular season, but, watching them go at it during the CFP is always not disappointing.
But you're the Big 12 aficionado here. No love for Oklahoma, Texas?
Okay, OU Texas is not typically during Thanksgiving weekend though. It's usually in October. So it's a little bit different because it doesn't happen during rivalry week, but the Red River Showdown is so lit. We talked about this that weekend. Mostly because it's at the Texas State Fair and you get to eat a corny dog while you watch the football game. It's hot as hell outside.
Corny dog?
Corny dog.
It's just not.
First of all, did you know that corn dogs were invented at the Texas State Fair?
I believe that. I got to go for the first time last year, Christine. That is a treasure.
But what's the difference between a corn dog and a corny dog?
That's what it was originally called. It was called a corny dog.
No.
Google it. It was originally called a corny dog, and it was invented at the Texas State Fair.
I can
Respect
either confirm
history,
that.
Jason.
Look, I respect it. You're the one over here that played for Notre Dame, and you're not even putting USC Notre Dame on this rivalry list?
Oh, listen, I think it's certainly up there. And the interesting one of this is so much of rivalries tend to be geographic in a lot of these institutions. But Notre Dame and USC is a testament to the way both of those brands are so national. In these instances, I was just talking to one of the Notre Dame beat reporters who covers the team. It feels very strange for everyone not to be boarding a plane heading to Southern California this week because the other best part about this rivalry is it gives us somewhere warm to go in the month of November in South Bend. And I cannot stress enough how vital that is in the situation. When I was there, we would always basically go roads. USC would come out to South Bend and beat us. We would go out to Southern Cal and beat them. And I promise you, Jason, we went 12-0 my senior year. The sweetest feeling was walking back up the tunnel at USC, gilded shillelagh in hand, and being able to toss down the Trojan side to a crowd of very, very sad people who got to still go out and live in Southern California, so they weren't too sad.
If I had to ask you, Mike, to pick between, let's say, the beach in Southern California in November or a corny dog, which, well, by the way, corn dogs are a delight. I love them. I'm still not in on this name. Are you going corn dog at the Texas State Fair or are you going beach in November?
I got a lifetime of body built by corny dog here, so I feel like I have to honor my heritage in a life that once brought me to 300 pounds. You don't get there by going out and tanning on beaches. You get there by mainline and corny dogs, and that is what we are going to do in this situation.
I would love to see that, and since we will see more of you later, maybe you can just bust out your corny dog bod, because that's exactly what we want.
Or bring back some corn dog. If he's getting a break, bring me a corn dog. Come on.
Okay. Well, coming up on Game Day later today, 9:30 a.m. Elijah Moore's almost game-winning touchdown set the college football world on fire last season. He joins the show to talk about that moment and this year's Egg Bowl. Then at 10 a.m., Nick Saban joins via FaceTime to discuss how he's doing after testing positive and showing symptoms for COVID-19, and what to expect from Sark, who's running the show in his absence. Then at 11:15, the Buckeyes are 4-0, but they've shown some big flaws. The guys will break down the path to fixing the Buckeyes' issues before they're really put to the test in the postseason. We now welcome in our bottom 10 expert, Ryan McGee, and I love your shirt right now. I just hope both teams have fun, because when you talk about the bottom 10, two teams that are on the bottom 10, in the bottom 10, Michigan, Penn State, are going up against each other. But Michigan had a pretty great win last week against Rutgers. Does that kind of take this out? Are they still in the bottom 10? Like, how does that work?
No. So they are not in the bottom 10. They are in the also receiving votes, and it's in the form of they made that list simply because you don't celebrate beating Rutgers in 3 overtimes like you just won the Rose Bowl. That's the status of me. Listen, I'm a Tennessee alum. The first time Tennessee rushed the field after beating Vanderbilt, I was like, I don't think we should be doing this right now. And that's how I felt for Michigan fans when I saw the team celebrating beating Rutgers like they just finally beaten Ohio State.
As our bottom 10 expert, I mean, I think the most confusing result we've seen this year is that Penn State started the year ranked number 7 in the preseason poll, and now, I mean, have you seen anything in all your time putting together the bottom 10? Have you seen this sort of epic disaster before?
No. I mean, UCF 1 year, almost went undefeated, and the following year they were the bottom 10 champions. But that's UCF. This is Penn State. This was a team that had a chance to make the playoff, is what we were all saying. Now they're fighting to make the bottom 10 playoff. I mean, it's the biggest fall that I can remember. And meanwhile, Vanderbilt, where James Franklin used to coach, they're solid bottom 10 members. So the state of Franklin, which was an actual place in the state of Tennessee at one point, they tried to have their own country. They tried to secede back in the 1780s. The state of Franklin right now is a very, very sad place, because whether it's Vandy or Penn State, you're having a bad year.
Okay, let's talk about that, because in all seriousness, both Penn State and Michigan need to figure something out. Penn State just re-signed James Franklin to a 6-year contract extension that guarantees him $35.4 million through 2025. That's a long time. Harbaugh, by the way, has 1 year left on his deal, leaving Michigan with the decision to re-sign him or cut ties. So what kind of decisions are needing to make? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think it tells you where the two programs are, because Michigan hasn't felt great for several years now. Penn State's felt fine. In fact, Penn State was on this upward trajectory. I was at the Michigan game last year. Fitz, I think I saw you there. And it was so electric, and that team was so good. And so I think everyone agrees sometimes it's just a bad year. And I don't think anybody sees any indication that it's going to be like this in Happy Valley for a long period of time. Listen, they've seen bad times recently. They know when it looks like it's trending downward. And I think that tells you they think this is probably a blip on the radar. At least I hope it is.
Okay, so as you put together your bottom 10, I should say, who's the most surprising to be in your bottom 10, and who is the champion in right now in your committee mind for the worst of the bottom 10?
Well, ULM, Louisiana Monroe, has been a solid number 1 pretty much from the jump. And, our boy Bill Connolly has his mysterious math work that he does on ESPN.com. He does not believe that's the worst team in the country. They're 8. They were the first team in the country to get to 8 losses. They're one of only 2 teams in the country to have 8 losses. Sorry, Syracuse. But Syracuse at least has a win. And now ULM can't get a game played. So they haven't played in 3 weeks, and they still have the most losses in the country and have all season long. So, but the shocker's Penn State. I mean, listen, I've had most of the Big Ten at this point in the bottom 10 at some point legitimately, not just the coveted 5th spot, which goes to a good team that had a bad week. I mean, Michigan, Nebraska, Penn State. I mean, you throw the whole bottom half of the bottom 10 in there, or the Big Ten at some point. See, I get the Big Ten and the bottom 10 confused.
All right, so if you were making a bottom 10 of Christmas carols, what's the overrated Christmas song that everybody's all into? You know me, I'm holiday alert. Like the one that everybody loves that you think belongs in the bottom 10.
Sleigh Ride wears me out. I don't even know what it's about. And then what's the one with Dean Martin, where and I love Dean Martin, but Baby It's Cold Outside, which is basically just that song is so
We've
not
talked about
appropriate in this era, but
Yeah.
yet everyone continues to record it. But yeah, a lot of people have gotten in a lot of trouble for doing what the author of that song was suggesting at that point. But Sleigh Ride is just I don't know. It's just it wears me out. It has props. It has the whips. I don't need props in my Christmas songs.
Well, and shameless, by the way, if nobody's checked out the John Legend version of Baby It's Cold Outside, he changed it. I mean, he substantially changed the men's part in it. And
That's
at
awesome.
one point, he actually says it's your body, it's your choice. So it tells you he went completely the other way.
out.
So, check out the John Legend version of it. McGee, as always, my friend, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your analysis. And I still love you, even though you don't like some Christmas songs. I just hope everybody has fun.
I just hope both teams show up at this point. That's all I'm asking for, right? FSU Clemson?
So true.
Oh, God, he's so right about it. Thanks, McGee. All right, it wouldn't be a proper Thanksgiving weekend without a boatload of games happening on Friday. So we want to get you caught up on everything you missed while you were stuffing your face and while you were turning around eating your leftovers and while, of course, you were out there trying to find that bargain plasma TV for $8. So let's get you some of the best highlights from yesterday's action.
Start off with some Texas-Iowa State fun. Sam Ehlinger's last game at home in Memorial Stadium. Takes it in himself here, 17 yards, rounds the corner, whoop, gets up, gets in, gets through, gets the touchdown. They're up to a 10-0 lead. Feels good, but Iowa State mounts a comeback. Sean Shaw Jr. with the catch and the spin move. You got to press. Oh, there you go. Gets in the end zone, cuts the lead to 3. Check this one out again. Manages to keep himself in and then says, nope. Good sir, I shall get to the end zone and score. Let's cut now to the late fourth quarter. 90 seconds left in the game. Breece Hall gets a handoff to one. Takes it in, gives Iowa State the 23-20 lead. Ehlinger drives Texas down into field goal territory, but Dicker the kicker just wide on a 57-yard field goal try that would have sent it to overtime. Instead, Iowa State gets the big 23-20 win over Texas. The big day of Iowa football keeps rolling with the Hawkeyes taking on visiting Nebraska. Just before the half, Iowa up 13-6, second and goal. Adrian Martinez takes it in from the 1, ties things up at 13. Big touchdown for Nebraska, obviously. Then let's move ahead. Early in the third, Nebraska still rolling. Ramir Johnson runs it from the 12 to give the 1-3 Cornhuskers a 20-13 lead. They're celebrating. You can have all the corn you want. It's Thanksgiving weekend. Next drive, Iowa caps off a 14-play, 66-yard drive with the Kai Sargent 2-yard touchdown run. Iowa putting themselves back in position here. Start of the fourth quarter. Keith Duncan from 48 yards. Oh, it's good. Right down the middle. One of 4 field goals on the day for Duncan. Iowa comes back. They get themselves the 26-20 win. They move to 4-2. The game everybody had their eyes on. Number 2, Notre Dame looking to avoid the upset from Sam Howell in North Carolina. Early first quarter, Howell with the fade to Emery Simmons, who makes a hell of a catch, ripping the ball away from Bracey. Look at this one again. This is absolutely just a man's man right there. Getting it up, getting that ball. Early 7-0 lead for the Tar Heels. And early on, they had to feel good about the way their offense was moving the ball. Late first, Heels up 14-7. Ian Book showing the wheels. 33 yards to the North Carolina 6. Beautiful run by him. It only took a couple of plays later after that. Book shows off the wheels again. Avoids the sack. Look at this play here. Gets out of the way of it. Runs. Gets it to Williams, who ties things up at 14. Big play there for the Irish. Midway through the third, the Irish Ben Skowronek finds the end zone. Common theme this year, 13-yard touchdown, 24-17 Notre Dame lead. Irish held Carolina scoreless in the second half. Fourth quarter, tapped off an 80-yard drive with the 1-yard Williams touchdown. Gives them the big 31-17 win for Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish. They keep rolling in the ACC.
It's time for Fitz's Biggest Moments, brought to you by Samsung QLED TV. You know what we do. We walk you through some of the best games. Now, I know a lot of great games have already taken place, but still a ton to be excited for, so we'll give you our top 4, and we'll start by giving some love to the SEC. At number 4 on the list, LSU taking on Texas A&M. Remember, Texas A&M is in the playoff hunt, but they need to win and they need style points. This season has gone awry for LSU, but they're still 3-3. They still have dignity, and they're still the defending national champions. Let's see if they can cause some chaos in the college football playoff. Up at number 3, little Pac-12 action.
Washington taking on Utah in a game that's now in prime time, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. There's a lot on the line here for Washington trying to make their case for why they can become the Pac-12's great hope. The Huskies are holding on to the ball over 37 minutes a game. If Utah doesn't manage to control the clock and the tempo, this one could get out of hand.
At number 2 on the list, everything Indiana touches this year is exciting. Boy, how did they rebound from the heartbreak of the loss of Ohio State? They get a Maryland team that's had some up and down moments. This is a big key for Indiana that the committee still valued in the college football playoff. So let's see how they can respond. And at the top of the list, you know what's coming. You know what's here. It's Iron Bowl time. Auburn beat Alabama last year. I can only imagine the outrage they feel in that locker room as they are the number 1 team in all the land and have so much to play for. Obviously, big story here is going to be Nick Saban and what they do without him with COVID-19. To hear more on that, you can check out Reese and the guys on Game Day. They'll get you caught up, but all eyes will be on the Iron Bowl today. Huge playoff implications for the Tide.
You are watching Countdown to College Game Day presented by Samsung QLED TV. While there are no fans on site this season, don't worry. You can still be a part of the action and share your signs. Just a reminder that if you'd like to be on the show this year with your sign, enter for a chance to join at collegegameday.com. That guy said he was getting married.
I mean, I'm here for it. Like, it's an interesting approach.
There's a lot of things that he has to do today.
I'm just saying, the guys have nothing to do the morning while they're waiting to get ready for all of this stuff. We just sit around and drink, so you might as well get on College Game Day while you do it.
I mean,
By the way, Mike Golic Jr. is back in studio with us, and we are going to give away some Thanksgiving awards. We're going to compare college football teams to things that we eat on Thanksgiving, because that's what we do after Thanksgiving, obviously. So we're going to start out with the best main dish. What do we got? We got Alabama, because just like Thanksgiving turkey, the Tide are consistent. You know what you're going to get every single year, and it rarely disappoints. They are, once again, the number 1 team in the CFP. By the way, I don't actually like turkey, but what's the best part of the turkey?
What, covering it with gravy? I don't know. What is the best? I'm with you. Like, turkey, I think, is kind of bland. I mean, Mike, where
Listen, I'm kind of with you on all that one. I think it pairs better with the gravy. I think Alabama is interesting, too, because for so long, they just served you turkey the normal way, and then somewhere around the time Tua Tagovailoa got on campus, they started deep frying that thing out of nowhere. They deep fried it. Now they go and throw passes downfield. It's spicy. It's new. It's exciting.
Juicy and good. That's when the flavor gets locked in. You're right. Now they're fried turkey.
Have either of you ever deep fried a turkey?
No.
I haven't personally deep
I
fried.
grew up in Connecticut.
That is fair. A lot of time in the South. I'm scared. I'll just admit I'm scared. Okay, go ahead. What do you got?
All right, let's go to the best side. And for that, we got the Ohio State Buckeyes. Always a bridesmaid, never the bride. Buckeyes are consistently very, very good. After winning the inaugural college football playoff, the Buckeyes have only made the top 4 2 times in the last 5 seasons and have never reached the final. That is very, very sad. So, Ohio State, the best side in this situation, but what is the best side?
But I kind of like this. Like,
Okay.
Mike, follow me here on this. Like, they're the best side because they're like mashed potatoes. Like, they're good, but they need a little help, right? Like gravy. I'm going to keep going back to gravy. Gravy helps mashed potatoes. Like, Ohio State's good, they're mashed potatoes, but when they have gravy, they're great.
I feel like Ohio State probably should get more like ham credit on this one. Like at times it can be the superior meat at your dinner table in these instances. Maybe it doesn't always get the respect or the accolades that it deserves, but more often than not, it feels included into the discussion here. But Christine, I do understand that is kind of alarming to think about the way it's actually shook out, because they always feel right there.
Exactly. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I love that analogy, but I do want to ask you guys a question when it comes to best side dish. Right? We're saying that Ohio State is the best. What are they, though? Are they, you said mashed potatoes. I don't think that's the best side.
No, well, I'm not, yeah.
Gojo, I have this question because you're a Northeasterner. Have you ever had macaroni and cheese at a Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's weird.
Oh, well, look, I mean, you have to also remember,
Okay.
I spent a lot of my life north of 300 pounds. So things that don't normally happen in Northeasterners tend to creep into my family's slightly overweight life.
Again, Christine, I'm going to rock your world with it. You know, I'm a blue box mac and cheese guy all the way. Like, I don't want your fancy mac. I want Kraft, right?
Gang.
But here's what you do. What you do on Thanksgiving and Christmas, because you want to be a little bougier, you use 2 packets of the cheese, and you make it with heavy cream. Oh,
That's not like
delight.
I honestly could throw up right now.
Really?
That's
Oh,
like when I go to a
Powdered
restaurant and they're like,
cheese?
we have fancy macaroni. I'm like, no, just go get me the blue box. All right, it takes
Gotta
like
do it.
6 minutes. There we go. Like,
That's not real cheese, just FYI. It's
I know
powdered.
that's why it's better.
Oh my
the
God.
response over here is Pavlovian. I am frothing in the mouth. This sounds great.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Now we got the Cranberry Sauce Award, which means the biggest disappointment, even though I do not agree. I mean, if you get that kind of cranberry sauce, yes, it is a disappointment, but cranberry sauce is sometimes good. But anyways, it's going to go to Penn State. Obviously, we already talked about this. They started the season number 7 in the preseason AP poll, and just like that, canned cranberry sauce, they slid out of the can and sat there on the plate of the 2020 season looking like an unappealing mess. That's why you don't make your cranberry sauce like that, just FYI. But I mean, Penn State has absolutely been a disappointment this season.
Yeah, and cranberry sauce is a disappointment too. Like, I'm not out on cranberry sauce, Mike. I'm just not in on it. I just don't need. I mean, if it never makes the table, I'm okay with that. If it makes the table, fine, I'll eat it. But I'm not really like.
It is interesting because I do think cranberry sauce for me is the worst side in all this one. I have no time for it here. Might I offer you a comparison for Penn State here, because they are a
Okay.
team that can be rather boom or bust. There's been a fair amount of talent, especially since James Franklin's been there. Sort of like the stuffing, because if you've got really good stuffing, all of a sudden it's a delightful addition to the plate. We got something going in college football. Other times you can get it soggy. It comes out. It's not such a great time on its own here, sort of like 2020 Penn State at this point.
I would say, like, let's make them like a green beans, right?
Ooh.
Last year they were green bean casserole. This year they're just green beans by themselves with a little salt and pepper on them.
Oh, see, I like that.
That
I
is-
think that's the winner.
Yeah, see that, like, it works like that, right?
I mean, I could live without both of those things. Go ahead. And Thanksgiving, I love green beans year round. I just don't think
You don't like green bean casserole with little crispies on top?
Anyways,
Fix your life.
let's go on to the Thanksgiving Leftovers Award. And this means that it's the gift that keeps on giving. Fitz gave you a whole entire recipe that you can use for your leftovers. So this is what we give. This is what we give. We all know that Thanksgiving dinner is not isolated to one day. It's a multi-day adventure, a gift that keeps on giving, like I said. In that spirit, this award goes to all the big men. This is for Gojo. Out there scoring TDs, because these moments are something we look forward to every single year. And they just keep providing, especially for Mike Golic Jr., endless joy.
I mean, look at God, man. Look. Won't he do it? Reach out to your screen and receive that blessing that those large men just bestowed upon you there. I mean, you had a full-on thick 6 in that highlight right there. He hit him with a Euro step. It was incredible. All of these things because God made large, incredible athletes. Won't he do it?
Or like Matt Ufford would say, Euro step.
Oh,
No, God.
yes.
Hallelujah.
Yes. We have gone to hungry heaven.
Because food. I feel like you could totally make a Euro out of your Thanksgiving leftovers. Just put a Pete around that thing.
Somebody stop this. I mean, just keep moving before we get any more hero talk. Go ahead.
Okay, here's the Black Friday Award. This means it's the best bargain or the best deal. Black Friday is a great time for finding great deals. Guess what? It was a great deal for Florida. Kyle Trask. He was once a 3-star recruit. Now it's a few years later, and now he's a Heisman candidate, leading the country in touchdown passes with 31 and has the second most passing yards a game. I mean, they lucked out with this one.
I will agree with this, and as we see the clips of Kyle Trask, it's great. But I do think that Justin Fields belongs in this conversation too. I mean, he didn't win the job in Georgia, and at this point, how does Georgia feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I look at that situation, though. We knew what Justin Fields was. He was a bona fide. He just went into a situation where Georgia had a guy that they believed in, and Jake Fromm at that point, who had won them a lot of football games. Ultimately, probably wasn't the best decision long-term for you there. But Kyle Trask, like what this has turned into with Florida's season, I mean, these are Joe Burrow 2019 type numbers that we're talking about in this instance.
Nobody was expecting it. That's why he's the best bargain. Like I said, 3-star recruit. Nobody expected Kyle Trask to be the baller that he is. And now is he still leading the Heisman race?
I think at this point he's got to be. Mac Jones is up there, but Trevor Lawrence hasn't played in a couple weeks, and Kyle Trask is doing all of this while making a goatee on a college kid tolerable, which is hard. I rocked a goatee in college, and I look back on it like, what was wrong with me?
That's called swagger. Swag.
Is it though? Don't encourage this, Christine.
The swag.
I will encourage you to keep hanging out with us, obviously, as we're going to get you set for game day. But game day coming up next. They'll get you set on everything you need to know through the college football world throughout the course of the day. Coming at you from Tuscaloosa, Christine Williamson, Mike Golic Jr. I'm Jason Fitz. It's been a lot of fun. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Hope everybody's had a wonderful holiday. Most importantly, a safe holiday. Thanks for hanging out with Countdown to Game Day, presented by Samsung QLED TV.
Wow.
Oh my God.